Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Eleanor Roosevelt wrote these great words. Listen carefully. You gain strength, courage, and confidence by every experience in which you really stop to look fear in the face. You must do the thing you think you cannot do. Right on. Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith, and God Bless America, followed by a patriot to call in on a Monday morning with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning. And a good morning to you. Good morning as we start a new week. And I'm Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch, with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations. Great big fall tire sale going on right now. And including some of our great advertisers. That's Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Call them at 734-6969. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Well, good morning, sir.
Are you the man?
I am. I figured I'd do it this morning.
All right, go ahead.
All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Wheels. And right now it's time for our weather forecast, and it's brought to you by K&R Rentals. Some really, really good folks over at 256 South, 300 west of Heyburn. Number to call, 678-3122. They offer the best tools and equipment over in Heyburn, and believe me, if you need these tools or equipment to finish a construction project, you be sure and remember them and the numbers, 678-3122, K&R Rental. Believe me, they're there to serve you early in the morning, starting at 7 a.m. Roger and the whole crew at K&R Rental over in Heyburn. And right now, here's the weather.
It is going to be another beautiful fall day here in the Magic Valley. Here is your weather forecast for this Monday. Looks like mostly sunny skies. Going to be a little bit breezy. Winds out of the southwest, right around 7 miles an hour. We are expecting a high of 62 tonight, low of 35. Tomorrow, even better, sunny skies, high of 64 with an overnight low of 36. Wednesday, going to be the best day of the week. Sunny skies, high of 68. Partly cloudy for Wednesday night with a low of 39. Then for Thursday and Friday, looks like winds are going to be picking up, but still going to be mostly sunny skies. Highs are going to be in the upper 50s. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
And thank you very much, Gina. Appreciate it. And the weather brought to you by some really good people that are there serving you. K&R Rental with Roger and the crew. Like I said, they're open Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 5:30, Saturdays 7 to 2. You be sure and stop over or give them a call at 678-3122. K&R Rental. Really good people. Oh, we have got a busy, busy day today. My goodness, I've got some great guests coming on this morning. We've got Frosty Wooldridge from Golden, Colorado, Idaho Senator Kelly Anthon, and we've got Steve Thayer, along with Megan Barth. Well, we've got a full plate. And I want to thank everybody last week for a great lunch bunch. Thank you for all that attended, and Jerry Voss and his wife Rose, and of course Jimmy Flowers. They really dressed up for Halloween. That costume that Jerry Boss had on, I'm still chuckling. It was great. Hey, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget that if you're going hunting, still got a hunting trip planned, and you haven't waterproofed your tent or your clothing, I know where you can get it done. At Kevin with Daryl's Cleaners. That's right, Kevin can do it. At 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. And also get those sleeping bags cleaned. Oh, there's nothing worse than unfurling one of those sleeping bags. It's been all rolled up since last year. Take them into Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. They will help you. Really good folks. And also our thank yous to Ramsey Heating and Electric. Man, I'll tell you what, they are such nice people, and they've been with us for a long time on this program. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. And they've got all your furnace filters. They've got everything for you to stay snugly warm this winter. So all your heating and electrical needs, and they open the doors at 7:30 in the morning, Monday through Friday. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, 678-0459. Stop in and see them today. I have, let's see, a lot of things to mention to you, and we've got some public service announcements and everything regarding Halloween, and we've got a lot of news items this morning, so stay with us. One of the things I wanted to mention and get this on the air real quick, hold on just a minute, is that Denny's Restaurant, and I'm going to be talking about Denny's in just a minute, is taking new unwrapped toys or cash donations for toys to help the Minnecasia Christmas Council. And please, if you're going to give a toy, get it to Denny's at 611 North Overland in Burley by the end of October. Would you do that for me? I might as well segue right into the commercial, and don't forget, a great place to eat. We stopped in there the other day, even after lunch bunch, by golly. Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley, and also 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. The very, very best of people, friendly people that really care. Service great, food fantastic. What else do you want? America's Diner, Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley, the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch. Boy, we had a good lunch bunch, too. I appreciate it. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I really am concerned about a lot of things. Now, number one, I wrote about this in my blog last week, Cow Pies and Coffee Cups. For all of you that listen to this program, and some of you kind of go tisk. I think Zeb's off on the far right on some of this stuff, and they just kind of wave me on. Well, I do not, and I want to emphasize this again, because it's falling on perhaps some deaf ears. I do not put anything on this program that is not verified and confirmed. Let me say that again, verified and confirmed. There is no theater. There is no speculation. The stories I give you and the people I have on are legitimate, and they have legitimate concerns about various issues. That being said, after last week, I had Pamela Geller on my program a week ago Monday. And she is the president of the American Freedom Defense Initiative and an author. And she had written a book called Fatwa, Hunted in America, about Muslims and Islamic radicals coming in, making threats, Sharia law, etc. Okay? Some of you, after that segment, said, oh, come on, that's just a bunch of theater, a bunch of hype, and other words were used. Let me share this with you, and it's very important that you listen carefully. I had her, Pamela Geller, on the program last Monday. Wednesday at 11:15, when I turned off this program, and picked up the daily copy that is sent to me of the USA Today newspaper, on page 2, I'm going to read you a small part of the story. I quote, "Man convicted of plot to behead blogger." The story starts, "A Massachusetts man was convicted Wednesday of plotting to behead conservative blogger Pamela Geller and kill other Americans on behalf of the Islamic State group." For those that criticize Pamela Geller and those that said it was hype and theater against Muslims, I hope you heard the truth. A Massachusetts man convicted last Wednesday of plotting to behead conservative blogger Pamela Geller. I do not put anything on that is not verifiable. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. Also, I want to remind everybody, I mentioned Denny's Restaurant a moment ago, and I want to tell everybody, too, about my friends. Excuse me, still got that darn frog in my throat. Must be that time of the year, I don't know. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. And, you know, we all get our aches and pains, our strains and our sprains, and maybe recovering from surgery, or the kids get hurt at school or whatever. Well, listen, this is the place to go to help you get back to being you. Absolutely. The best of physical therapists. Nick Greenwell heads them up, and the crew is fantastic. And they've got the only hydrotherapy pool of its existence anywhere in the area. I mean, this is great. I've walked 1,000,000 miles in that hydrotherapy pool, and it does help. Call them today for an appointment, 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Really, really good people. Get out of bed, give me a call. Come on, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While I have a moment, I also want to remind you about Pomerell Place and a place for senior living. Now, they are going to this week be hosting a VA benefit seminar on October 26th, coming up in just a couple of days on Thursday at 5:30 p.m., and the public is welcome to be in attendance. Georgia Greenwell, local Minnecasia veteran service rep, will be speaking on how to apply for VA benefits. And I urge all of you to RSVP by today. Call 677-8212. Pomerell Place in Burley. Yes, at 1301 Bennett Street in Burley, a place for senior living. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Ted.
Yes, sir.
You know, you were talking about lunch, and I just thought of something. What a country we have here. You know, we go to lunch, like I was there last Thursday, and lo and behold, it cost me about $12 for lunch, and I won a $25 gift certificate. Now, how can you beat that?
Well, you can't, not with a stick. And I'll tell you what, I really am appreciative of all the people that help contribute to the gift certificates and the giveaways, and it just amplifies the fact that we are there and we have fun.
Yeah, and we do have fun. And sometimes we even poke fun at the host.
Many times.
Who?
Many times. Thank you, Keith. I appreciate that.
You bet. Bye-bye.
All right. Have a good day. You know, I want to ask you a question out there, folks. And Wheels, watch that feedback just a little bit to me, please. We are really seeing around the edges of America, and the cloth is fraying, and the threads are starting to come apart with a new race war, possibly, in the United States. Now, I'm just going to come right out and say, I think the left is absolutely responsible, the left and the Democrats, for creating the white supremacy and the racist attitude that is going on. Let me give you a couple of examples. This is really getting tight, and I'm worried about this. A guest on MSNBC's AM Joy Sunday called the Republican Party the Republic Klan. The Republic Klan Party, due to their white supremacy. I don't like being called a white supremacist. I do not like being called a racist. I will strike back. I guarantee you. And Fernand Amandi, described as an executive vice president and principal at the Bendixson and Amadi International, made the following statement. The Republican Party, or the Republic Klan Party, as he calls them now, which is what Donald Trump has sanctioned them as, cannot and will not allow any proper discussion on their white supremacy to be had, because it all unravels after that. What did President Trump do to initiate this kind of hatred, this kind of vitriol, and this kind of insanity from the left and the Democrats? White supremacy? Listen to this. Another story. The White House slammed Democratic Senator Sherrod Brown in a statement yesterday on Sunday for calling Stephen Miller, senior advisor to President Donald Trump, again, here we go, a white supremacist. White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders condemned Brown for his appearance Sunday on CNN, in which Brown stated that Miller seems to be, here's the words they get by with, seems to be a white supremacist. Brown also said, without citation, that studies have shown that they have their allies sprinkled around the White House. Brown's comments came following the Democratic Representative Frederica Wilson's remarks on Friday. In an interview with the New York Times, Wilson charged that the White House is full of white supremacists. You know what? Maybe you don't want to hear this. Maybe you don't want me to say this. But I think a civil war is almost imminent in this country. I, for one, went through this trash and garbage from the Democrats 8 years ago when they called me a racist. Now they're starting to say to anybody that is Caucasian, anybody, and we saw this a couple of weeks ago, and I had a story on this last week on my program, anybody that is white and believes in God, the Bible, and this great country, the United States, then we are white nationalists and we're bad people. We're white supremacists. Oh, Whitey. Gotta watch out for him. Does anybody else see this happening in this country? And it's being furthered, and the fire is being fueled even by, white Democrats. Now you say, why? Well, I think the answer is obvious. They're playing the race card to their own advantage for future elections. What are your thoughts? Give me a call. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Come on, give me a call. Don't forget Dino Septic Service in Rupert, also Burley, also Twin Falls. Fast, fair, friendly service, believe me, and they're doing a job that you and I don't want to do. I mean, septic tanks pumped and septic tanks and drain fields installed, and they've got water and sewer lines installed, sewer and sink drain lines cleaned. Oh, they got a great big truck that says, smells cargo on the way. They are the very best. Don't forget Dino's Septic Service. And telephone numbers in Rupert, 436-6526, Burley, 678-1638. Dino's Septic Service, absolutely the best. Hold on, caller. I'll be right there. Also want to remind you that Steve Yates is running for lieutenant governor, and there's going to be a Meet Steve, a meet and greet, and that's going to be this Thursday, October 26th from 6 to 8 p.m. at Maury's Steakhouse, 219 East 3rd in Burley, and the hosts are Representative Bert Stevenson, Doug Pickett, and Mark Peterson. I invite you to meet Steve Yates in Burley. That is coming up on this Thursday, so don't forget, Steve Yates for lieutenant governor. Meet and greet Thursday the 26th at Maury's Steakhouse starting at 6 p.m. And, of course, this paid for by Bert Stevenson for Steve Yates for Lieutenant Governor. Caller, good morning. Thank you.
Morning again. You know, I think the left is just trying to put up a smoke screen to protect what the truth is about this uranium. Boy, that goes so deep down that it's come back to Barack Obama, and they're going to do anything in the world to try to keep this out of the press.
I think, and I said this last week on my program, and I'm going to stand behind my statement, that the uranium story with involvement to Russia and what happened perhaps on another related story with the ranchers up there at the Malheur Wildlife Preserve and Lavoy Finicum and everything, this is going to get a lot deeper and a lot dirtier over the next couple of weeks.
I think you're absolutely right. And when we finally get around to the White House, when Obama was president, boy, a lot of heads are going to fall.
You know, Keith, I honestly believe this, that the more that there is a picking of the scab, if you will, with even Mueller, Robert Mueller's investigation, and even checking into what's happening with John Podesta's brother, what's happening with money, what's happening behind the scenes that Obama and Susan Rice and others tried to prevail, I think this whole thing is just going to eventually open up and it's just going to create total chaos.
You know, this Robert Mueller, who was the head of the FBI when all this uranium deal was taking place, and he's the worst one of the bunch, and he's trying to find dirt on our president. It's real.
It's a funny story, really. Excuse me, but nobody's laughing. I want to ask you a quick question. Give me a short answer on this, because I'm almost out of time. Do you see what I've been talking about the last couple of minutes about white supremacy and the allegations of white supremacy turning into a very, very big story in the next couple of weeks?
Oh, yeah, they're going to keep that going. It's very important to keep it off of the focus of what's really going on. This Frederico, what a name for a gal.
Frederica Wilson.
Yes, and she's the one that's going to keep this thing stirred, and she's doing more to disrupt. Now he's trying to go into the government, calling the people who represent our country white supremacists.
Yeah.
It's because we're Republicans.
It's going to get a lot worse. It's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. Thanks, Keith. God bless. Thank you very much. Callers, come on. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to say something real quick. I know, and you know, that Donald Trump is not the most polished and gifted of politicians. He's not a politician. He's a businessman. But I also know that no man in any capacity is going to talk to a widow of one of our soldiers and going to say anything that would be derogatory or anything that would not be at all sympathetic. And I think the charges and the allegations by people that are devoid of any common decency and common sense, like this representative from Florida, Frederica Wilson, I have no use for that woman. I think everything was taken out of context and everything was blown out of proportion. I will stand behind that from what I've read, the people I've talked to, which are many, that absolutely the president very much probably did say he knew what he was signing up for, but the caveat is the rest of that conversation, according to the transcript, said he knew what he was signing up for, but he went ahead and served his country and put his life on the line anyway. There is nothing wrong with that. This deal is being blown completely out of proportion by a wacky Democrat in Florida that should have never been elected to public office, Frederica Wilson. Disgusting. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'm going to give away a dozen cookies right now to Sophie's Chatterbox at 530 East Street in Rupert. Oh, what a delicious, delicious, delicious restaurant and great bakery with cookies, pies, all the desserts and everything. And they've got the freezer jams, blackberry, strawberry, marionberry, raspberry on homemade bread. All right, here's the question. An easy one this morning. And this is for first-time winners only, please. What are the names, the first names of the Beatles? Give me the first names of the Beatles. Something we all should remember. Give me the first names of the Beatles. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Come on, give me a call and win a dozen cookies, delicious cookies, from Sophie's Chatterbox. Come on, hurry and get that done. Real quick, come on, call. What are the first names of the Beatles? Okay? While I'm waiting for your call, I also want to remind you about Berry Equipment and Rental, sales, service, and parts. Don't forget, they've got locations South Lincoln and Jerome, Addison Avenue West in Twin, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. You get in there and get all the equipment you need to get the fall jobs done right. They really know the equipment. They really can help you. Juan and the crew at the Burley location, man, they've got all the Bobcats. Equipment rentals, retail equipment sales, waiting for you at Berry Equipment and Rental. South Lincoln and Jerome, Addison Avenue West in Twin, and, of course, 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. You stop in, see them today. Once again, call me, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. What are the first names of the very, very famous rock group, the Beatles? Give me a call and win some cookies. Come on, hurry. Give me a jingle on the landline, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. How quickly we forget. Give me a call. Come on, I want to hear what the answer is from you. Come on, hurry, win some cookies. Don't forget our friends, Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox, teaming up with Lennox Home Comfort Systems. And you might qualify for up to a $1,600 rebate on a new Lennox home comfort system. All you have to do is call Ramsey Heating and Electric today at 678-0459. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox, keeping you warm and cozy. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, good morning, Zeb. If my memory recalls, it's Paul, George, Ringo, and what's the other guy's name?
Hurry.
I don't got it.
All right, buddy. Well, thanks for your try. I appreciate it. Thank you. Need another call. Boy, he was on a roll there for a moment, and then all of a sudden the train stopped at the station. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Yes, was it George, Ringo, Paul, and John?
What is your name?
Renee.
What's your Renee? What's your last name again?
Sanders.
Well, I hope you enjoy cookies because you just won some.
Well, thank you.
You call Sophie's over in Rupert on the Square. Tell them when you're going to be there to pick up your cookies and then enjoy.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right. Renee Sanders, congratulations. Yep. John, Paul, Ringo, and George. How quickly we forget. Calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Come on, give me a call. Let's see what else. Nancy Pelosi was on The View the other day, and she said, and I'm going to be paraphrasing, I don't have the exact direct quotations here so that you think I'm going to give it verbatim on everything she said. She said she has to stay in office because America needs her and her perspective. And she said again, she is a great legislator. Uh-huh. I got to thinking about one of the people on that program that just absolutely makes me mad every time I look at her and for some of her not real deep thinking. And I'm talking about Whoopi Goldberg. So this morning, I had my lovely bride, Deanne, pull some information on Whoopi Goldberg. Now, here is a woman that was born Karen Elaine Johnson in 1955. And she never graduated from high school. As a matter of fact, she dropped out of Washington Irving High School. She's a dropout. And it just kind of infuriates me that she's on this television program spewing the hatred against not only this administration, but other conservative Republican administrations. And she, Whoopi Goldberg, dropped out of high school. And I get a little bit upset. Here's a classic case of people involved in the media that have barely finished a high school education or dropped out prior to getting a diploma for a high school education, and they sit back now, are members of the entertainment world, and their IQ, according to their status as entertainers, has gone up to over 200%. It's ridiculous. This woman absolutely does not have the background to be criticizing or critiquing or adding anything to the conversation. Never even finished high school. Now, is that to say that people that didn't have the effort or perhaps the opportunity to finish school because they are stupid? No, what I'm saying is she thinks she's such a political expert on all the world affairs and everything, and here's an example of really stepping out of bounds. Whoopi Goldberg. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Let's see what else have I got here. Empty seats. Holy smokes. Did you notice the empty seats at the NFL games this weekend? I did not watch the games because I have sworn an allegiance against them. I did tune in a little bit last night just to see what was happening, and I thought that NBC, and I'm going to criticize them for this, I tuned in specifically to see what would happen during the national anthem. And cowards, as NBC is and are, they didn't show it. They went right to a commercial break prior to the national anthem and did not show anything. Basic cowardice. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
You and I graduated from high school, so we had to take a government class before we could graduate. I wonder if she missed that class.
I think that you will find, and I'm going to do some research on this over the next couple of days, on so-called stars that claim that their IQ is so much better than anybody else, and I'm going to do some research really on their education and what they have done, where they have been, where they've studied or not. And you'll find that the bulk of many of these so-called stars have limited ability as far as anything called a diploma.
Well, I suspect she got in trouble a lot in class because she has a runaway mouth. And the teachers may have gotten sick and tired of her and booted her. I like some of the things that she's done, and I do laugh with her sometimes. But I have lost my respect for her because she is just getting old, and she knows she's not as popular as she used to be, and she's trying to elevate her status by being, I don't know, smarter than the rest of us, which is obviously showing she's
Well,
smart.
Chris, I think you're going to agree with this. I think it's totally unfair for anybody to criticize another person, maybe because of their lack of education or their lack of ability in trying to get an education. And I feel a lot of sympathy for those people. But when somebody drops out of high school and then becomes a star, if you will, in Hollywood, with the director telling you where to stand, and then you've got all the words out, printed out for you and everything, and then those people go on and achieve star status. And with that star status, they also seem to promote the fact that they're smarter than everyone. That's what offends me. When she comes on like she knows so much more about certain situations in the world, etc., and that is just general BS.
Well, I think that that's what Hollywood does to each other. They scratch each other's back, and of course, they're all making a lot of money. But, money does not actually equate to brilliance.
That's right. That's right. And when you say that, please, the first name that came to mind was Representative Maxine Waters of California. She's got a lot of money. She's very wealthy, but she's got to be one of the dumbest congresswomen we've ever had.
Well, and you notice the one over on the other shore of the United States in Florida, who kind of looks like Maxine Waters.
Let me ask you something.
And I'd like to know why she wears a cowboy hat.
I don't know, but
Florida, that is a status symbol at all.
She is, if you look up the word wacko, I would put that connotation next to her name. Let me ask you a quick question. And you, being a lady, talking about a lady, I'm interested in your comments. Representative Maxine Waters said something the other day that was so volatile, and she's getting away with it. She said she would take Trump out. And that kind of a statement sounds like a hitman statement, very disgusting and very, very nerve-wracking. What an inflammatory statement. What would happen to you if you were a Republican congresswoman and you would have said something like that about Barack Obama? What do you think would have happened?
Well, I actually think that the Republican Party would have come after me, because that's not the Republicans who are supposed to be smarter than that.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think when these so-called congressmen that know so much speak out, they ought to have their facts checked.
Well, not only that,
I think it's Republicans and Democrats.
well, it's so inflammatory when you say you're going to take somebody out. Naturally, the statement sounds like you're going to, and I'm going to come right out and say it, and I think you'll agree with me, Chris. It sounds like you're trying to hurt someone or maybe even perhaps kill someone. And an inflammatory statement like that absolutely should be investigated by the FBI and all of our security forces. How does she get away with that? Because if I would have came out on the radio while Obama was president and said something so inflammatory, do you think for 5 minutes that there wouldn't be somebody checking on me?
Well, and rightly so. I think that this woman, and they get a little bit of status in Congress, and they all of a sudden think that they are the spokesperson for the whole nation.
Yeah.
And that's wrong. Politics is dirty, but you don't need to make it worse.
Frederica Wilson in Florida, Maxine Waters in California, and many in between have completely muddied up the water.
Well, and I don't have any prejudices of skin color. But isn't it interesting how they almost bring themselves to the center of discussion, where you can't hold yourself back from saying, what is wrong with these people?
And it's going to get worse because, like I said in the earlier segment on before the 8:30 break, that white supremacy, bigotry, racism is being played by the Democratic Party, and it's going to get worse. And I, for one, am going to stand up and spit in their eye because it's got to stop.
Well, that's one of the things that, as a Republican and a conservative, we've got to just be disciplined and make sure that we get the attention for being right.
I agree with you. Chris, always good to hear from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Caller, I am going to ask your patience. I've got to get weather forecast and a commercial in here real quick, so stand by. I will come to you next, I promise. I want to remind everybody that re-elect John Anderson for the Burley City Council for a 4-year seat, and John's main goal is to keep Burley a great place to live and raise families. He was a Burley mayor for 8 years, and John wants your vote on November 7th. He's very concerned about city infrastructure and about what citizens are charged, and he wants to keep everything at a fair rate. Don't forget, John would appreciate your vote on November 7th for a 4-year city council seat. John Anderson for Burley City Council, paid for by John Anderson for Burley City Council. Caller, I'm going to be right with you. I promise. I got to get a weather forecast on here. I'm running late. Weather brought to everybody by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Dr. Christine Pickup, Doctor of Audiology, at 1218 9th Street, Unit 2, right behind the Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room. Don't forget, call for an appointment for a hearing screening today, 312-0957. And now, here's Gina with the weather.
It is going to be another beautiful fall day here in the Magic Valley. Here is your weather forecast for this Monday. Looks like mostly sunny skies. Going to be a little bit breezy. Winds out of the southwest, right around 7 miles an hour. We are expecting a high of 62 tonight, low of 35. Tomorrow, even better, sunny skies, high of 64 with an overnight low of 36. Wednesday, going to be the best day of the week. Sunny skies, high of 68. Partly cloudy for Wednesday night with a low of 39. Then for Thursday and Friday, looks like winds are going to be picking up, but still going to be mostly sunny skies. Highs are going to be in the upper 50s. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. And don't forget, over at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, they welcome Katie Bingham to Mount Harrison Audiology. She's the new patient care coordinator, helping everybody. You have hearing problems? Well, please address it immediately. Call 312-0957, Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb.
Hi, Tony.
These ladies that you've been talking about, they get into public office. They take an oath to protect and preserve our rights and our Constitution and everything else. The minute they get in, they violate their oath of office, and people keep voting them back into office.
Yeah. Are they really serving their constituents? No, I'll answer that for you, because they're being elected as representatives in the halls of Congress, and they're only supposedly just working for their left-wing thought and their left-wing supporters, and I find that repulsive.
You know, to me, there's only one word that fits those two people. They turn into a bunch of saboteurs. They'll do anything to destroy the Constitution, and they have no idea what they're doing to the rest of it.
You know, and there's people that have already contacted me and said, well, you must be racist if you're against Frederica Wilson in Florida. That's why you're against her. No, I'm not against Frederica Wilson because she is black. I'm against Frederica Wilson because she's stupid.
She is. You know, when I heard that gal talk, I thought she should become a bartender in a strip joint somewhere, and that's about what she's qualified to do.
Woo! That's even a little tougher than what I was thinking. All right.
So, okay, Zeb.
Thanks, Tony.
You're welcome.
Okay. Woo, he kind of just laid it on the line. Well, there's an employment opportunity for Frederica Wilson after all. Okay, good morning. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Did you hear Senator Joe Manchin from West Virginia. In passing, I was just walking by the TV set yesterday, and evidently Hillary Clinton wanted to go to West Virginia, and if I've got this story wrong, I got it from a source back in New York this morning, as a matter of fact. And Joe Manchin said, no, Hillary, stay out of my state. We don't need your help. I don't want you here. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. I don't know how many of you remember Anita Bryant, but she was famous for wearing cowboy hats. I think Brown in Florida is just trying to be the opposite, and they're both as racist as they can be.
Let me ask you something. When you heard the allegations by Frederica Wilson, a person that should have never been privy to that phone call anyway, that the president gave the widow of our soldier, but what did you think about that when she turned it into a racist comment, a white supremacy comment, an anti-Trump comment? What did you think about that?
Well, I think she's never sat at a funeral and had a flag placed in her hand.
That is an excellent statement.
The only thing that went through my mind is she's just never had that happen to her, for her to do the political thing there. Setting that up, and it was definitely a setup.
Do you, and I'm going to ask you a very important question here, do you think at all, in any minuscule amount, that President Trump said the wrong things?
No, I don't. And that should have been a very private conversation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there it goes back to what I said the first part of this hour, that the conversation and taking things out of context are what this lady, Frederica Wilson, has done, and turned it into a political football and a racist football. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah. This is very definitely racial.
You know, let me ask you, you're very outspoken, I can tell. Do you think I am wrong what I said about 45 minutes ago, that this nation, right now, I think is at one of the worst junctures of its history for possibly racial confrontation?
I do. I think we're headed for some tough times. I have been stockpiling food. I don't want to be without food with all my family around me.
God bless you. Thank you very much for calling in.
Uh-huh.
God bless.
Have a good day.
You know, I'm really concerned. I mean, I'm not making these stories up by any means. I hope that the general public understands that. I've got at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different stories right here that came in over the weekend about the Democrats and the left trying to play the white supremacist card, or the racist card, or the Republic Klan card, and stating that Donald Trump has sanctioned or underwritten white supremacy. Please, this has got to stop. Let's not forget our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you right now with a big fall tire sale. Fall tire sale. Doing the right thing matters at all the Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh, my goodness sakes. And for your cars, your pickups, your SUVs, like they've got on sale right now for your pickups, the Wild Country Trail 4SX, all-terrain tread, improved tire life. This is a really good tire for you for the safe fall and winter driving. Check it out today, along with the best in brake service, front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries. Oh my goodness, have a good battery to start your vehicle. All of this and more with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Doing the right thing matters at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Don't forget, vote on November 7th. Don't forget to vote on November 7th. And Early voting is going to start, let me take a look here, on Monday, I believe. And you don't have to wait. You can cast your vote in local elections. Early voting begins Monday across the state. And in Cassia County, it's going to start. Early voting takes place 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday until November 3rd at the Cassia County Courthouse. And in Minidoka County, early voting takes place 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Monday through Friday until November 3rd at the Minidoka County Courthouse. We're going to get ready to go to the news right now from CBS, and Frosty Woolridge is going to be up next hour, and then at 9:30, Idaho Senator Kelly Anthon. Really thank Kelly for coming in and helping us out many, many times. Don't go away. We've got a lot of interesting things left this morning on Zeb at the Ranch. Take care. Good morning, and welcome back, Zeb at the Ranch. Very glad to have you on a Monday, and brought to you by our Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, serving you with a great big fall tire sale. And some of our great advertisers like Western Way Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Way Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Way Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Way Services.
Western Way Services, they do so much to help you, and they are always at your disposal. Call them at 734-6969. Get on the route service, and then once a week they'll come by, pick up your garbage. It's gone. It's out of there. Wave goodbye. Western Way Services, the best. Call them 734-6969. Yep. Always at your disposal. By the way, too, I want to remind you again, coming up on this Thursday at Maury's Steakhouse at 219 East 3rd Street in Burley, a meet and greet for Steve Yates running for Lieutenant Governor. Don't forget, that's going to be this Thursday starting at 6, going till 8. And the hosts are former Representative Bert Stevenson, Doug Pickett, and Mark Peterson, inviting you to meet Steve Yates in Burley. He's going to be down there for a meet and greet coming up this Thursday. Don't forget, Steve Yates wants your vote for Lieutenant Governor, and you can meet him, shake hands with him, and find out his viewpoints. This Thursday at Maury's Steakhouse. Don't forget, paid for by Bert Stevenson, Steve Yates for Lieutenant Governor. I want to also take just a moment before I get my dear friend Frosty Woolridge on the air and remind you about Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert with my friend, your friend, everyone's friend, Joel Heward, manager along with his family and his staff, working to serve you and your family when there's the passing of a loved one. And always upholding the highest of ethical standards with unquestioned integrity to take care of you, your questions, your needs during that very, very serious time. Please give them a call, 436-5636. That number again, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary in Rupert, serving you. Ladies and gentlemen, my next guest is not only a very, very close friend, but also a man that is extremely sharp on what's going on in the world today. And, Frosty, I'm going to say good morning to you, and then I want to have it back for a moment. I want to share something with you. Good morning, Frosty Woolridge.
Good morning, Zeb Bell. It's a pleasure, sir, and always thank you very much to share this Monday morning with you. I look forward to it because I think we really do bring out the highest and best of people who care about America and care about our Constitution and care about our way of life. So it's just a joy. Thank you.
Well, let me tell you what happened last week, Friday, last week, Monday, after you were on the air with me, Frosty. And again, Wheels, we got a little feedback coming down the line. Please watch that. We had Pamela Geller on our program, and Pamela Geller, as you may or may not know, Frosty, is a very conservative lady, author of a book, many books, but her latest being Fatwa, Hunted in America. And on the program, she told us about how dangerous her life has become because of the threats to her from Islam. And some of the people that were listening, they poo-pooed this, and they said that, oh, Zeb, it was just a lot of theater on your program. Well, let me tell you what happened Wednesday. In the USA Today was a headline of a story, and I'm going to read it quickly again. Man convicted of plot to behead blogger. A Massachusetts man was convicted Wednesday of plotting to behead conservative blogger and author Pamela Geller and kill other Americans on behalf of the Islamic State. Frosty, people are naive, people are stupid. There is a real problem out here.
Well, there certainly is, and I want to bring everyone to the attention of my latest column. It's called Why Muslims Cannot Assimilate into Canada, America, and Europe. And as a matter of fact, if any of you all know Hershey Ali, she was the Somalian that went to Denmark, and she actually wrote a script for a movie titled Submission, and it exposes Islam. If you don't submit to it, then you can be killed. And the prime directive of Islam and the Quran is to convert or kill all non-believers. And in fact, the great-grandson of Van Gogh was Theo Van Gogh, in fact, was his name, was stabbed in the streets and killed, a dagger through his heart right there in Amsterdam. This was maybe 10 years ago. Salman Rushdie, who wrote satanic verses, was also condemned to a fatwa. And he now, of course, is under 24/7 guard. I think he's got 4 guards around him at all times. And of course, Hershey Ali, that lady who went to Somalia, became a politician there. And then she migrated to the United States. She lives in New York City, and she's under a fatwa also. And yes, I know Pamela Geller very well. I've read much of her work, and she's one of the others out there who is brave enough to expose Islam for what it is. And I'm one of the other characters out there, and I've actually had one imam, the imams, they're the leaders of the Muslim faith, said that they should have a fatwa on me. And I said, well, if you can get past my front door without getting your head blown off, I said, come and get it. But the key here is that it's real. And again, my latest is at newswithviews.com. It's also at Capitol Hill Outsider and 20 other different websites. But it will give you a real understanding of why Muslims simply cannot assimilate into first world countries and why they continue their barbaric practices once they get here. Whether it's beheadings or behandings, which has now happened in South Carolina and New York, out in, literally all over the country, Texas, Arizona. I've got case history. Rocky, I think it's Rocky, Ohio, just last fall, another shooting by a father killing his daughter with 2 bullets to her head while she slept. So this fatwa stuff is really real, and Pamela Geller has to be guarded 24/7 so that she doesn't get beheaded also. In Oklahoma, just a year ago, one lady did not want to convert to Islam, and so the Muslim chopped her head off, and he was in the process of cutting another lady's head off when he got shot dead by an employee there at a processing plant. So you're correct, and this is what's going on in our country, and as I've said many times before, we need to stop all Muslim immigration into America, because if we don't, their numbers grow, and so does their violence, as they are emboldened to institute Sharia law. And that's a fact, and that's what we're dealing with. And the sooner we stop Muslim immigration into America, the better off we will be.
Let me ask you something, Frost. Whether it's Sharia law, whether it's radical Islam, whether it's now the left and the Democrats playing the race card almost every day, calling you and I white supremacists and racists and bigots, etc. This whole society is being torn apart by what I'm just going to come right out and say are Democrats that are pandering for more votes and pandering for sympathy and pandering for the next election. Am I wrong?
Well, yes, you are correct, actually. What the Democrats are doing is they are gaining more votes from the receivers. And those receivers are now at 48 million of them on food stamps, millions more on Section 8 housing, as I've said in the past. And every time you bring in, you got 100,000 Somali immigrants in Minneapolis right now, Minnesota, and they're all, I mean, virtually all of them are on food stamps and Section 8 housing and total welfare. And every one of them that you bring into this country, again, it's costing us, according to Roy Beck at Numbers USA, $296 billion, B as in boy, $1 billion a year, across 15 federal agencies. We're paying for it. We pay for Lutheran charities and the Catholic Church to bring all these people over here. We fly them over here, put them on welfare, stick them in our society. They have no capacity or ability to work, no ability to assimilate, no ability to contribute to our society. And that's one of the things that Trump tried to do and he's attempting to do is cut the numbers. And I've said, let's cut it down to zero. We don't need any more of these immigrants of any kind for any reason. And then make sure that we have, workfare for welfare. Otherwise, they're happy to just sit there on the welfare rolls and just use up our tax dollars for their sustenance in this life. Personally, I think it's a 21st century form of slave labor because when you look at all the minorities right now that are simply taking all of these, welfare monies, it's showing that it doesn't work. I think we spent well over $3 trillion since 1964 when LBJ brought the Great Society into being, and all we've done is put more African Americans into welfare. And as a matter of fact, we've destroyed the black family in this country, and it's destroying itself with 7 out of 10 children are born out of wedlock. So obviously it's not working. We need to change course.
Well, Frosty, you've written some excellent articles. I've got both of them right here in my hand, but I want to go back just for a quick second, if I may, to the left in the Democratic Party and the likes of Maxine Waters making statements over the weekend again that she would take Trump out. If you or I said anything like that about Obama when he was in office, we'd have the special security forces looking into you and I guarantee you we'd be in a lot of trouble. Then we have Frederica Wilson, a dingy representative from Florida, making outlandish statements and allegations against President Trump. Then we have people like Democratic Senator Sherrod Brown over the weekend calling Trump a white supremacist. I mean, this thing is getting completely out of hand.
Well, it certainly is. And again, you have to understand that somebody like Frederica Wilson is literally a dingbat. And she's in the same dingbat category as Maxine Waters. I mean, these two women, can you imagine any kind of an intellectual conversation with either one of them?
No.
And yet they're in the Congress of the United States. They really ought to have a minimum IQ test for anybody to come into Congress because we need to have somebody up there that literally has relative reasonable intelligence to actually bring forth some kind of a bill that's going to better their constituents in their arena. Same thing with John Cummins out there in Georgia. I mean, he's been in the Congress for 35 years, I think. He hasn't done anything. Maxine Waters has done nothing. Frederica Wilson, again, just a dingbat like Maxine Waters, and John Cummings, in a male way, is a dingbat himself. He sounds very intellectual because he reads off his script, but he doesn't have anything behind it. I mean, as the one, I think it was the lady in the White House, the press secretary, said, all hat and no cattle. Well, that's the dingbat Frederica Wilson and certainly Maxine Waters. There's no substance behind them, and so they get to call all these names, and then the press jumps all over it. And the press, the left-leaning press, it just makes a fool of themselves. But they also bring and create more separation here in the United States among all of us. And that's the great tragedy that's happening right now, is whether it's CNN or Frederica Wilson or certainly Maxine Waters or Charles Schumer and even John McCain. I mean, here's a guy, I think he's got brain cancer. He's 80-something years old. He should be gone out of the Senate. He doesn't have any function anymore. He doesn't have the ability to function for all those constituents there in Arizona. I hope that Kelly Ward finally becomes the new senator to take his place, because she is outstanding, or even Jeff Flake's place. But we need some new blood, new brain power, new intelligence in our Congress to actually move our country forward. And we got to stop all this ridiculous white supremacy. There's .000000001 white supremacists in this country. The rest of us are just doing the best we can to get along with each other and respect one another, and I'm one of those people. I respect all the races, all the ethnic groups, all the minorities, majorities, in between, all of us, red, white, brown, black, and blue. We're all Americans, and we deserve respect, and that's what I stand for.
Absolutely. And, I'm going to come out and say this, and you can disagree with me if you wish, but I'm just going to say that whether it's the illegal alien problem in this country, or whether it's a Hispanic problem, or whether it has to do with the blacks wanting more power, taking over more things, or whether it's someone like Frederica Wilson stirring things up, calling people white supremacists, etc., I think the left is thriving right now, trying to gain these people as part of their voter threshold, so that in the next election they literally can take over power. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, there's no question about that. You have to really appreciate this. Every ethnic group around the world vies for dominance. That's why right now we have we have La Raza by the Hispanic Latino contingent, which will become the new majority by 2042, which is like 25 years from now. And the European Americans are trying to just hold some kind of semblance of rational thought and reason, but they're losing. You then have the Black Lives Matter. You got the Black Panthers. You've got BET. That's Black Entertainment Television. You've got Miss Black America. You've got so much racism on the side of African Americans right now that they're not Americans. They're African Americans. Then you've got the Muslim Americans. You've got, and again, I wrote the Civil War II, the coming breakup of America, that 4-part series that anyone can access. We're simply allowing ourselves, by those who would separate us, to continue this separation of America as Americans. And, I think it's Elder, one of the guys on Fox News. He says, we got to stop calling ourselves Black Americans, white Americans, Hispanic Americans, Muslim Americans. We better start calling ourselves Americans.
Yes.
Or we're simply not going to hold in the center. And of course, James Walsh of the INS 20 years ago said, we're balkanizing this country so fast. And let me just say this again. I'm going to just repeat this. It's very quick. Immigrants devoted to their own cultures and religions are not influenced by the secular, politically correct facade that dominates academia, news media, entertainment, education, religious, and political thinking today, he said. Immigrants claim the right not to assimilate, and the day is coming when the question will be, how can the United States regulate the defiantly unassimilated cultures, religions, and mores of foreign lands? Such immigrants say their traditions trump the U.S. legal system. Balkanization of the United States has begun, unquote. That's James Walsh, former INS, back in 1991 said that. Well, that's exactly what's happening right now. We're allowing ourselves to separate ourselves because of all of these different factions, whether Muslim or La Raza, Sharia law, and so forth. We really need to stop all immigration in the United States. We already have such a big problem that we're going to be lucky if we even survive that without having, again, a civil war or riots in the streets, or people, literally leaving entire cities like what has happened in Detroit, Michigan. Folks, over 1.2 million people fled Detroit because of what you just read or heard in this latest quote that I just gave from James Walsh.
Let me, I want to hit, if I can, for just a moment, Frosty, on an excellent article that you had written, and I want you to touch on it. I've only got about 4 minutes left, on the opioid epidemic and crisis in America. I tell you what, it's much worse than people can ever imagine.
Well, it is. and again, one of the things and the reason, and as I do all the research on this, and I've been on the border, there's 50 billion. That's documented. You can go into any, look it up on Google. 50 billion, B as in boy, $1 billion worth of drugs are sold into the United States every year by those who would use those drugs. Well, that's $50 billion worth of money going into Mexico, feeding Mexico's drug cartels. But you've got kings and queens of high schools coming down and dying from drug overdose. I mean, there's 13 teens die every hour in the United States from drug overdose in this country, and nobody's talking about it. And what blows my mind is 60 Minutes a week ago, when I wrote this piece, talked about the fact that we've got all of these doctors and all of these Cardinal and McKesson and all these big drug companies feeding all of these OxyContin to all of these neighborhoods across the country, and our own drug cartels in this country are addicting our own people, and they're getting away with it. And Congress actually voted a law to stop the DEA from prosecuting them. So you understand it. The reason that all this drugs overdoses and drug literally killings. I mean, most people don't realize it, but 100,000 people die every year from prescription drugs given out by doctors and at your local drugstore, and they have a drug reaction and they die. And that's not getting stopped because a whole bunch of money in high places is paying off the Congress not to enforce some kind of law against all of this. And that's what my story was on the opioid crisis. And we're all unsuspecting because we think that the Food and Drug Administration is taking care of us. They aren't. They're getting paid off, and the big McKesson and Cardinal and all these other top drug companies are just killing Americans legally, Zeb. And anyone can read that piece. It's in newswithviews.com just a week ago.
You know, Frosty, real quick, why didn't someone with a spine, why didn't someone with a caring for humanity blow the whistle on this a long time ago?
Well, they've tried. And this whistleblower that was on, and you can see on the bottom of my piece, you've got the whole Bill Whitaker at 60 Minutes did a tremendous expose of this thing. And the thing is, there's so much money and so much power to keep people totally, they'll fire them, they'll take them to court, they'll put them under unbelievable court mandates so that the whistleblowers literally don't have a chance. I mean, it's like guys like you and me, we're whistleblowers, and we're telling the facts here, we're giving the truth out as you can see it across the country. I mean, why are the Muslims getting to do what they get to do in our country right now? It's because nobody will stand up and speak out against them. It's just unbelievable. And so they try to silence us. I've tried to talk on the overpopulation crisis facing America, all of it caused by immigration for the last 30 years. And PBS and Charlie Rose and 60 Minutes, they completely suppress any discussion from not only me, but Dr. Albert Bartlett, Dr. Jack Alpert. You go right on down the line, all the topics. Experts on what's happening to our country are literally suppressed by the mainstream press and by the biggest powers out there that want to absolutely flood the country with immigrants. And I don't know what else you can do other than I write and I then speak on radio and at some point hopefully speak on national TV about what's happening to our country. But in the meantime, all I can do is keep doing what I'm doing and press on.
I tell you what, you're doing a great job, and I'm so fortunate to have you back on the radio with me. Frosty Woldridge, Golden, Colorado. My dear friend, God bless you, man. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Zeb. Godspeed. We'll see you next week.
You bet, buddy. Thank you. Frosty Woldridge, thank you for your very good points of interest this morning. I got to pay some bills. Want to remind everybody about our friends over at Ark Animal Hospital. Oh, my goodness sakes, at 750 21st Street near Connection Credit Union in Hayburn. Number to call, 678-1177. I don't care if you got a little bitty kitty cat or if you got a bunch of roping steers, horses, whatever the case might be. Ark Animal Hospital is a mixed animal practice, meaning big or small. They love them all and can take care of them all. Absolutely. Dr. Bill in the staff over there at Ark Animal Hospital. Write the number down. Don't forget it. They can help you and your livestock. 750 21st Street in Heyburn. Number to call again, 678-1177. They do have the warm hearts for the cold noses. Don't forget, too, Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox teamed up to provide you with possibly up to a $1,600 rebate on a new Lennox home comfort system. Why, you check it out today. All you have to do is call Ramsey Heating and Electric at 678-0459. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox, saving you money. Really good people. Oh, and by the way, it's exactly 9:30, and I wanted to tell everybody about our friends at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. They're having a great big harvest sale right now. 40% off, I kid you not. 0 down, 0% interest, up to 15 months on approved credit. Oh, my goodness, listen to this. 40% off furniture, mattresses, dining sets, motion furniture, bedroom groups, and more. Oh, my, and the selection of the recliners they have over there is absolutely out of this world. And don't forget, too, they've got all the dining room sets, beautiful dining room sets. You be sure and check these out before Thanksgiving and Christmas. Absolutely. At Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. 40% off, great big harvest sale. And they're located at 459 Overland in Burley. You stop in and see them today. Jeff Bronson and the crew at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. In just a moment, we're going to have my dear friend Senator Kelly Anthon on the program with us, so stay tuned for that. Want to remind you also that over on 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, let's ride. They're open Monday through Friday 9 to 6, Saturdays 9 to 4, and they've got all the new 2018 snowmobiles. Oh, fun in the snow! And they've got all the four-wheelers and the side-by-sides, and they've got all the accessories you need to enjoy the great outdoors of southern Idaho. So remember, and a service department that'll keep you running, too. Let's ride 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. There is the place where the fun is sold. Excuse me, got a little frog in my throat this morning. And while you're also over in that neck of the woods, don't forget our dear friends at Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. I mean, the very best of life insurance to help you and protect you, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, and so much more. They are the professionals that can sit down with you and really make a program up to protect you, your family, and your business. Get a hold of them today, 436-4424, Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. I'm going to let him do most of the talking because my voice is giving out on me this morning, and I'd like to say a good morning to Idaho Senator Kelly Anthon. Good morning, Kelly. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. How are you doing?
Well, as soon as I can keep my voice going, we'll be all right. This time of the year, I know you're making a lot of plans and preparation for the upcoming legislative session, and you and I talked a little bit earlier this morning about some of the different committees that you're on, health and welfare, foster care, etc., transportation. What are some of the hot items that you feel that your constituents should know about here this morning?
Well, Zeb, I'll tell you, just the first thing I thought of when you asked me is I think an interesting and hot issue that the state of Idaho will have to deal with, as strange as it may sound, is the simple fact that the economy in Idaho is doing so well. And I say that's a hot issue because I think when we do well, we have to start thinking about really what does that mean. Now, Zeb, I grew up on a farm, and for those who know, when I practiced law, I did a lot of work for farmers. And one of the things that is often said that is actually the truth is that a farmer doesn't go broke in the lean years. He goes broke in the fat years. And that's because when you make a lot of money, you think that's going to perpetuate forever and ever and ever, and so you go buy a new tractor with a 20-year payment or whatever it is. And then you have the lean year, and then you get tipped upside down. And I've noticed with the state of Idaho, if you look at even recent history over the last 10, 15, 20 years, we have a tendency to do this once in a while. And fortunate for the state of Idaho, the last time we had the major economic recession, we had some money in the bank. And so as of today, as I understand it, we have not yet put that money back into the bank as much as we had when we went into recession.
Now,
and that money really, I think, saved Idaho from going into places where other states went, which was, degraded ratings and some real economic hardship. So as I look at this year's legislative session, Zeb, one of the key things on my mind is let's be smart about what we do when we have surplus years. And as of July, for our last year, we were, I think, about $70 million in the black. And Zeb, in particular, I think what you're going to hear about in the legislative session is a lot of talk about taxes. Because when we have surpluses, that's a green light for eager politicians to give tax cuts and then claim a tax cut, especially in an election year, which we're coming up on.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think we're going to have to be very honest and do some real thinking about what it is we're going to do with excess money. Right now we're spending some of that money in transportation, and we're putting some of it in the bank. So that's just kind of right out of the chute, Zeb. That's what I think of first off.
You know, it only represents great common sense on your part to say that we should prepare for a rainy day and hold that money for needs in the future. But why would anybody arbitrate against that? I mean, are there those in the legislative session that just basically want to spend us into more debt? What's the situation up there?
Well, I think there are those in the legislature actually who, when they see the surplus, it gives them an opportunity to score very quick political points by giving some major tax cuts. And trust me, I consider myself a real conservative. I really do. I mean, I'm pro-life, pro-gun, pro-family, very very interested in limited government, and very interested in limited spending of taxpayer dollars and having low taxes. But I think as we look around, even in our community, and your listeners will identify with this, we have some infrastructure needs. When I drive down Highway 30, or if I drive down the highway over to Asequa, you realize that there are some needs that we have not met. And as a matter of fact, as I visit with our local communities, even the city of Rupert here, I know that it's not an overnight fix either. So you have, just as an example, in the city of Rupert, I know very much about their road situation. They're going to be 3 years. It's a 3-year fix, and a lot of money. So it's great to talk about tax cuts, and I would probably vote this year in favor of some income tax breaks. But let's not cut taxes to the point that we have that fat year and we forget that lean years are coming, and then we've not fixed our problems, and we're going to be back to where we started or worse. And so that's kind of the thinking that I have on it. Now, I'll tell you one other thing, Zeb, is I've worked in a lot of different organizations over the years, whether it be hospitals, local government, companies, and you have to have a reserve. Farms, as we've talked about. You need some money in the bank. And one of the things that the state of Idaho does not do well, in my opinion, is save for the rainy day. Now, where we've done it, we've prospered, and where we've not done it, we've failed. And I will tell you, if I was to guess right now, I would guess that the state of Idaho does not have enough to operate. If we had no revenues come in, we probably have about a month and a half worth of operating money.
Mm.
So in a real emergency, we would have a hard time paying people to go out and do what they need to do.
You know,
so I think we ought to do some thinking about that. I would encourage my colleagues in the legislature to certainly consider a tax cut, because I think our income tax rate could be cut a bit, and also really think about how we need to do better at maintaining our roads, and also sticking some money in the bank for the rainy day.
Okay, Kelly, let me ask you this, and I've been very outspoken about the roads and the condition of the roads and the maintenance of the roads. I honestly think, and somebody's really going to have to sit down and do a show and tell with me to prove that I am wrong, I think the weights of these trucks is way too heavy. I think the wear and tear on these roads is way too much, and I think there has to be a meeting of the minds, or we're going to see, like Highway 30, for instance, turn into another bombed-out war zone in not a matter of a long time, but a short time, and we're going to have to talk about resurfacing again.
Yeah, so, Zeb, I think you're right. I think we do have to have a discussion about all of those things, And in particular, and you and I have talked a little bit about this, but when we talk about the weights of trucks, we also need to be talking about how we distribute weight. For example, how many axles you're going to spread over 100,000 pounds.
Right.
Because if you distribute weight theoretically carefully, you shouldn't have as much wear and tear. Now, that having been said, the bigger problem in my mind is that we do not have the roads constructed in such a way, and we've not kept up on maintenance in such a way that we can accommodate some of the trucks that we're seeing go through the state. The other thing that's interesting, Zeb, is when we talk about weights, we have to consider that we are part of an interstate commerce situation. In other words, if one state were to allow 129,000 pounds on the highways, and we don't allow 129,000 pounds on the highway, you can understand how tricky that gets for a transportation company that's trying to take sugar beets or whatever it is, cargo of some sort, from one state to the next.
Right.
And, of course, in Idaho, we produce much, much more than we will ever consume. So we, by virtue of the way that we do business, need a very strong transportation system to take our ag commodities to other places. And so I think that one thing that the state really needs to do is to work with industry and catch up a bit on figuring out, what is the proper weights, like you said, but also, is the state really providing the infrastructure to accommodate those weights? And is it a situation where the state should be saying to the transportation company, well, sorry, we haven't kept up the roads, you're going to have to do something different? I mean, I kind of seem to think that government should be keeping up with business. And I know our governor often says this. He says, government should operate at the speed of business. Now, that having been said, I will tell you that one thing that has been monitored very closely in the Minnecaja area is the weight and the loadings of our sugar beet hauling trucks, because there was concern that they were really doing a lot of road damage. And I will tell you that last year anyway, there were not violations. So those large trucks you see with the beets, they've done a pretty good job of not overloading and things like that. But it's a concern. We need to be watching that, because even if the state puts the money into the infrastructure and then we don't monitor those heavy trucks, it's a waste of time and money.
Absolutely. Kelly, you said something this morning that piqued my interest. You're involved in foster care legislation here in the state of Idaho. That's something that is very, kind of scary in a way, the way that some of these poor children are thrown about or moved in with other families, and then there's been problems. Can you give us kind of a breakdown of foster care and what's happening in that situation?
Sure. Well, I appreciate you bringing this up, Zeb, because if you think about it, and your listeners think about it, who are the most vulnerable, the most in need Idahoans, where the government has an actual role in helping? And I think, and I would argue that at least at the top of that list are those children who have been abused or neglected by their parents to the extent that the state has to step in and save those children. Or at least in a temporary way, take them into someone else's home so that they are not injured or are really, really hurt. Foster care in Idaho has had some struggles. And as a matter of fact, the number of Idaho foster families has declined in recent years. And so the state legislature for 2 years now has been studying what the problem is. Why is it we can't get foster families to participate like we used to? And are we doing right by the children in the way that we're administering the foster care program once it is triggered? And I would tell you that we have failed on both, I think, in my opinion. I think that the state of Idaho has not done a good job in communicating, taking care, and otherwise working with foster families, and that has discouraged people from being in the foster care system. And the state of Idaho has also not done good by way of its internal processes and really thinking about the children's needs. I'll give you an example. Up until about a year ago, the State Department of Health and Welfare would execute, and I don't mean to speak necessarily about Minnecaja, I'm talking statewide, but we have seen problems where they were executing emergency moves. So imagine a child, and I have 5 kids myself, Zeb, so I can identify with some of this. When you have a small child, I'll give you the most egregious kind of situation. There was a small baby who was removed from the mother's home because she was a terrible drug addict. and that baby was just a few months old, and it was put with a very, very, very good family in Treasure Valley. And they kept that baby for about a year. So now, for those of you who are parents and you understand children, who does that child identify with? It identifies with the foster family. First and foremost, that child knows no other parents. And the state of Idaho felt like, someone in the state of Idaho felt like, that parent was becoming too close to the child, so they did an emergency, no notice, showed up at this doorstep, dragged the child out of there.
Oh, no.
And they took it to another foster care home.
Oh, no.
These are the kinds of things, in my opinion, and I think it's actually more than opinion. I think it's proven with fact, with research. This destroys people's lives. This damages a child in an irreparable way. And so we have made now a stop to these emergency moves, just as an example of the work that the foster care committee in the legislature has been working on.
Yeah, but who is...
The other thing, Zeb, is we had a startling report that showed that Idaho's foster children were highly being prescribed psychotropic drugs.
Oh, boy.
And so we dug into that. And one of the things we've done in law in the last couple of years is to change the procedure inside the court system to make sure that the judges not only have the authority, but they're asking in a foster care setting why the child's being prescribed drugs and what the purpose of that is and whether it's appropriate, and hear testimony on it. Up until 2 years ago, a judge couldn't even ask. So that just paints a very quick picture, Zeb, but those are some of the issues that the foster care system is dealing with, and I think we're making great strides. And so I would say to your listeners, if you have ever considered working in the foster care program and being a foster family, they need you. They need you desperately, and I would encourage you to do that. The comments I've made, I don't mean to discourage people, because we need you, and we're actually making great progress. And there are a lot of children that need your help.
Kelly, let me ask you this obvious question then. And when it comes to the foster care system, and you mentioned about how the children were ripped away from this one foster care family and placed with another, where's the overseeing of the system itself? I mean, everybody is so scrutinizing the families, etc., that are foster care parents. What about overseeing the people that are in charge of the foster care? It sounds like they need more of a Matt Dillon looking over their shoulder.
Oh, Zeb, you've just nailed it right on the head.
And Wheels, you've got to turn that up a lot quicker so I can hear him over at the station.
Down on the internal workings of the Department of Health and Welfare, which came with recommendations. And that certainly is a key piece, which is the bureaucracy that is the Department of Health and Welfare that runs the foster care program. Who's minding that store? And I think as of the last month, Zeb, in the foster care committee meetings I'm attending, we are now moving, I think, towards better oversight by folks who are they're not politicians and they're not bureaucrats. They are folks who are interested, who are trained, who would be reviewing cases a little more clearly. Now, I will tell you, Zeb, there is some oversight. I don't mean to say there's not. But I think there's room for improvement. There is a committee in the Magic Valley, as an example, that will review certain cases. But I really, really believe, and I'm going to go to bat for it, I think that there are some improvements we need to make inside the internal workings of those organizations to make sure that those children are treated right and taken care of.
Well, I tell you, I want to talk about one other subject right now, and that's about health and welfare. Maybe I'm jumping out of the puddle of water here and asking a question that maybe you don't want to answer or can't answer this morning, Kelly. But when it comes to the welfare system here in the state of Idaho, what about the abuses? What about the abusers of our healthcare system? Is there a way that's being looked at so that we can weed out the people that really shouldn't be getting our dollars and only have it go to the people that are needy?
Yes, Zeb. I mean, I think that is really the biggest problem that we have in our health and welfare system is the fraud, and that goes to Medicaid, Medicare. I mean, any of those government programs that you can name, there is a certain level of fraud there, and I don't think that we have, again, back to the oversight piece, anywhere near the oversight we need to make sure those programs are running efficiently. And let's be honest, I think we all know that the government is not the best purveyor of service. In my opinion, I can give you examples where we do very, very well. And I would say the more local the government you get, the more responsive it is and the better it does. But the problem is also, Zeb, that you're talking about, really, unfortunately, have been focused in the federal government. When the federal government provides these programs, they unfortunately often either require states to jump through incredible hoops and provide a crazy amount of red tape, or they limit the authority of the states and or the local government, for that matter, to really be a part of the program. That's why I think where you see programs really succeed when they originate in the federal government, it's where they turn over as much power as they can to the state and local government to administer the program without a lot of strings attached. That's where I think you'll see the greatest success. So my general answer to you would be that if we want to deal with this problem, get the federal government out as much as you can, provide the money to the states to administer a program that is specifically geared to state and local government, and then let, in my opinion, conservative thinking rule the day on who should be given that. Now, Zeb, you and I have spoken about this too. I was raised a certain way, and the way I was raised is you take care of yourself, period, end of story. And when you can't take care of yourself, you look to your family. And this is an argument for strong family relationships and strong family units.
Right.
And when you can't have a family support that you need, then you go to places like your church and that great social safety net, which is huge. You know, people want to believe that only the government can provide this, but that's not the case. Now, I will say, and as a last resort, I also do believe that the federal government, the state government, and the county government, for that matter, which if you talk to your county commissioners, they'll tell you they're divvying out these dollars. There's a safety net as well, but that's the way I think about this, is that you take care of yourself, you take care of your family, your community takes care of you, and then as a last resort, your government should be able to provide that, because that's not really the role of government at its very roots. So we need to have a hard hand on the top of these programs and make sure that we're cutting that waste out. Because the fact of the matter is the way the federal government looks is it's not sustainable.
Absolutely.
Even if you develop the most beautiful program in the world that the federal government funds, if we're going in the hole every year that we're administering the program, it's a dead program eventually.
Kelly, real quick, I've only got a minute left here. What's the hot button issue that you think is going to take the most time in the legislative session come January?
I really believe, Deb, it will be a fight over, and I say fight, I think it'll be a very healthy debate over taxes, tax policy in the state of Idaho, and how to best save money in the state. I think that's the real hot button issue this year.
I want to say thank you very much to a dear friend of this program. He's always been so amenable and helpful to coming on the program, Idaho Senator Kelly Anthon. Kelly, God bless. Thank you so much this morning.
Thank you, Zem. God bless to all of you.
Thank you very much. Let's see. Thank you very much to Kelly Anthon. And I got to say something personally about Kelly. I called him this morning. I had a guest planned for 9:30. And the guest called me about 20 minutes before I went on the air and said he couldn't make this morning's program. I called Kelly. He very graciously said he'd come on and talk about it this morning, and I thank him very much. We're blessed to have Idaho Senator Kelly Anthon. Thank you very much. Hey, I've got to get a weather forecast on here right now, and it's sponsored by Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company at two locations, 1710 Overland and Burley and 650 Fifth Street in Rupert, the very best for your taxes. You be sure and give them a call, make an appointment, and talk to the best that can and will help you. It's about that time of the year to get out your 1099s and all the W-2s and tax planning before the end of the year, so get a hold of them today. Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. They've been serving the Mini-Cassia area for well over 50 years. Give them a call today, Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
It is going to be another beautiful fall day here in the Magic Valley. Here is your weather forecast for this Monday. Looks like mostly sunny skies. Going to be a little bit breezy. Winds out of the southwest, right around 7 miles an hour. We are expecting a high of 62 tonight, low of 35. Tomorrow, even better, sunny skies, high of 64 with an overnight low of 36. Wednesday, going to be the best day of the week. Sunny skies, high of 68. Partly cloudy for Wednesday night with a low of 39. Then for Thursday and Friday, looks like winds are going to be picking heating up, but still going to be mostly sunny skies. Highs are going to be in the upper 50s. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina, and brought to everybody by Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, with offices in Burley and Rupert, the very best to help you with your taxes, your estate planning, retirement planning, all of this and so much more. Remember the name, Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Oh, my goodness sakes. We're almost ready to send it back over to our main studios for the CBS News coming up in just a few minutes. But I also want to remind you about our friends over at Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center. Nice, nice people. And they're located at 924 Christian Way in Rupert. The number to call, write this down, save it, don't lose it, 436-3200. They are the only assisted living facility located in Rupert, and they are able to provide more one-on-one care. You know, we're getting close to Halloween, and they would just love you, the parents, to take your kids over to Autumn Haven for trick-or-treat. They'd really love to see the kids. Stop by and visit. And remember, take a tour. You'll find out exactly how much they care. At Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center in Rupert. The number to call, 436-3200. They're small compared to some, but with a bigger heart than most. Remember, Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center. Coming up next hour, we're going to have Steve Thayer. He's a newcomer to our program, and we're looking forward to talking to him about what kind of a racial divide we're seeing start in this country and get bigger and bigger and growing like a cancer. We're going to have him on the program at 10:06. And then at 10:32, we're going to talk to a really sharp political lady, Megan Barth, and I'm looking forward to having her on the program. She's going to be talking about the infighting in the Republican Party and other problems that are going on with the United States right now that maybe aren't being addressed the way they should be. We're going to talk to her at 10:30. I want to remind everybody that at Denny's Restaurant, don't forget, you can make a $3 donation to the No Kid Hungry program, and that will feed a child 30 meals. $3 donation will feed a child 30 meals. So stop by at Denny's Restaurant. They'll tell you more and put your name up on the board, okay? $3 donation means you're going to feed a child 30 meals at Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. Right now, let's send it back over to our studio for the news from CBS. Welcome back. Hour number 3, Zeb at the Ranch on a Monday. Good morning to you, and thanks for tuning in. I want to remind you, before we get our guest on the phone, that on Thursday we have a segment called Cassia County School Days, and we highlight the education that's going on right here in your area. Our sponsors are A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley. They've got all the scrubs, all the baby furniture, all the baby clothing, all the cribs, the top-rated #1 car seat by Chico, and so much more. It's a family store serving you. A Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley. Along with the Ambulatory Surgery Center for your outpatient surgeries, such as life-saving colonoscopies, carpal tunnel, hand surgery, and so much more. Please call them today and learn how they can save you money at the Ambulatory Surgery Center, 1344 Highland Avenue, Suite E in Burley. The number to call, 677-8888. Ambulatory Surgery Center and A Child's World, bringing you school days in Cassia County. Right now, we're going to go to the phone line, and we say good morning to a gentleman that has not been on my program before, and I'm looking forward to the conversation. We say howdy to Steve Thayer. Good morning, Stephen. How are you?
Zeb, I'm very well, thank you, and thank you for having me on your program.
You know, let us have a little information and insight about you, Steve Thayer. Tell us a little bit about yourself, what you've done, what you do, and then we'll go into the meat of the conversation from there.
Sure. Well, I'm a Vietnam veteran. I am a former United States attorney during the Reagan administration, and I was on the New Hampshire State Supreme Court. And I've come out of retirement because of some of the issues that we're facing as a society. and for what I see as an assault on law enforcement that is unfair and based on misstatement.
Let me say this to you. I hope you don't mind if I call you Steve.
No, not at all.
All right. I think that right now the United States is in more of a precarious race war than it was back in the 60s with Selma, Alabama, etc. And I think it's being fueled by the liberal left and the Democrats and the likes of Maxine Waters and Frederico Wilson and others. What do you think about the status of race here in this country today?
Well, you're talking about an era I grew up in. I was born in the 40s, so I'm well aware of what was happening in the 60s. And what I see now is a step backwards. And I don't understand why it's happening. Some people say it's identity politics, but my sense is that race relations are worse now than they have been, especially back in the 90s.
When you say that, and then we hear about groups like Black Lives Matter and Antifa and all the insurrection that's going on in this country and the absolute targeting of our police officers, we're in a mess right now, Steve, and I don't know how we're going to correct it.
Well, I agree with you. I mean, the FBI just came out with a report in August of this year called Black Identity Extremists. And these folks are targeting law enforcement officers. The FBI's telling us about it, wrote an entire report on the issue, and no one is talking about it, at least not on the left. They're quick to talk about the extremists on the right, who we all condemn, but they don't even acknowledge the extremists on the left. Then they turn a blind eye to the fact that we have certain politicians and others who are saying all law enforcement officers are racist. Now, they are painting it as broad brush. There are a few who are. Those folks should be held accountable and prosecuted. But when you start putting a target on the back of every law enforcement officer, we in this country have a problem. And Black Lives Matter and others continue to maintain that hands up, don't shoot actually happened. Now, that is a reference back to Ferguson. And the FBI report says since Ferguson, there's been an increase in the ambushes and killing of police officers by extremists. And we all know, because the Holder Justice Department said, hands up, don't shoot, didn't happen. So I see that as a problem. I see in 2015, 41 officers were feloniously killed. In 2016, it went up to 66, an increase of 61%. So, yes, I'm very, very concerned about what's going on in society. And this the liberal left is running around trying to justify their allegations by saying police are killing blacks at a very high rate.
Yeah.
Well, the truth of the matter is, in 2015, there were 995 people killed by law enforcement officers. 259 were black, so that's about 25%. In 2016, 963 were killed, 233 were black. Now, if Black Lives Matter and the rest of these folks who are interested in the black community would take a step back, they'd realize that thousands of blacks are being killed annually, and 90% of the time it's by another black.
Mm-hmm.
So why aren't we concentrating on the inner cities and the places where these murders are occurring rather than taking on law enforcement? It just makes no sense to me.
Steve, where did this start? I mean, there had to be a beginning on the Monopoly board as to where this insurrection, excuse me, and this animosity between the races started. More so, I'm going to come out and say I thought it started with Barack Obama's administration, and it just has grown and festered like a cancer. Eric Holder contributed to this. Obama himself contributed to it. Hillary Clinton contributed to it. And now it seems like you have entertainers and you have talk show people really coming out and condemning whites, Caucasians, calling them white supremacists and calling them bigots. It seems like they're even feeding to the frenzy to try to create a bigger race war in this country.
Well, I think politics has changed. It used to be you could sit back and have a rational conversation with people on the policies of this country. Now, if you dare to differ, you are now automatically labeled a racist or a white supremacist if you're white, rather than talking about the issues. Let's talk about the issues from immigration to race relations. But as I see it, right now, the politics of demonizing your opponent has taken over, and unfortunately, there are some people in society who get very motivated about that demonization and become very violent. And in the case of killing police officers, which I would think everyone would be against the unjustified killing of anyone. I don't care if you're black, white, brown, unjustified killing and violence, wrong. But it seems that the left doesn't want to look in the mirror. They just want to demonize the right. And we just have to prevent that from happening. And that's why, as I said, I'm 71 years old. I've come out of retirement because what I see happening is detrimental to my country. It's nothing I've seen before. We've come a long way, and the flag signifies hope for everyone, and now that's even being disrespected. So I'm very concerned, and especially when you hear some of the people on the left say, well, obviously the system's racist because blacks only represent 13% of the population, and more than that are incarcerated. Well, the latest FBI statistics show that in the murder and negligent homicide area, whites were arrested 44% of the time, but blacks were arrested 52%. In robbery, whites were arrested 43%, blacks 54%. So actually these numbers show that there's a disproportionate number of African Americans who are committing crimes. Mm-hmm. And the real staggering statistic is the arrest of people under 18 for murder or manslaughter. 35% of those were white, 60% black. So we've got to start looking at, as a society, where the problem is. We have to have the liberal left stop misrepresenting facts and broad brushing and going after the law enforcement community. Without these brave men and women, we have chaos. And after Ferguson, there's a thing called the Ferguson effect that has been talked about and was really underscored by Director Comey before he left the FBI, and that is all these police officers are saying, if I'm proactive, I could end up in a bind like Officer Wilson did in Ferguson. So they're not being very proactive, and as a consequence, now crime is on the rise again. So there are consequences to these actions. I can't for the life of me figure out why the liberal side especially is perpetuating the myth of hands up, don't shoot, and that all police officers, regardless of their race, are a problem and are racist.
Let me ask you this, Steve. Here we are today on October 23rd, and you know as well as I do that before the day's over or before the week's over, we're going to hear more stories about people getting on the news, people getting on talk shows, and calling the Republican Party the Republican Party, or calling someone else in this administration a white supremacist or a bigot, etc. How do we put the cork back in the bottle? How do we stop this mess?
Well, I think what we're talking about is the need on behalf of the left to demonize people who don't think like they do. Consequently, it's shows like yours where you can have people on to speak the truth, to talk about what the statistics really are and really say. Because when you look at them, Not all law enforcement officers are racist. And we just have to continue to tell the truth, and hopefully enough people will hear us and be able to, at some time, just deflect the left and what they're doing.
You know, we even hear every day stories like, and I hate to even mention the man's name on my program because I have no respect for him whatsoever, the rapper called Snoop Dogg, and he's come out and said that he supports Colin Kaepernick and he supports everything that the athletes are taking a knee for, and he also called on black athletes to form their own football league and basically tell Whitey to go home. This is the kind of animus that's going on in this country that I don't see it stopping until there's a major push towards having a reconciliation. I don't see anybody doing that.
And there's not going to be a reconciliation if people are still being deunified. By that I mean, if Colin Kaepernick had respected the flag and said, I believe the black community has some issues that I think should be addressed by society, people would be more likely to sit down and talk to him about it. But when you disrespect the flag, and now you've polarized the issue, I don't see people coming together to solve the problems. There are some issues out there that have to be addressed, no question. But I don't think that going about it the way that these protesters are doing it, what we want pigs in a blanket. What do we want? Dead cops, the assassination of police officers in New York, the assassination of the police in Dallas when they were protecting a Black Lives Matter protest. I mean, this is very, very troublesome for society, and I think you're very wise to focus on it and to help getting the truth out.
Well, as a matter of fact, I've quit watching the NFL. Steve, I was an avid NFL football watcher. I'm an avid football fan. I used to be a coach, etc. But I will not support any organization or any group of people that shows disrespect to our flag, our country, our military, and our police. I won't have anything to do with them. I will not be sympathetic to their causes because they didn't handle this in the right manner. And the trickle-down effect from what Kaepernick did was now all the way to 8th graders that are playing pee-wee football. And they have no idea of what come here from Sikkim is, and they're taking a knee during our anthem. And this total chaos of disrespect in this country, it's got to stop.
I agree with you, and I wonder if you went and spoke to some of these people who are taking the knee, if you asked them, okay, what is your grievance? And don't give me this, racism. I want to know exactly why you've reached that conclusion. Give me the facts. Because I've just outlined to you while we were talking that the facts don't support what some of these people are saying.
That's exactly true.
The hands up, don't shoot, which even Holder said never happened.
Yeah. But, I think now the athletes that are taking a knee are sitting on the bench, and I think you'll agree with this. They've been so drummed into their minds as to what they should say and a program response to any kind of a commentation as far as, why are you taking a knee? And, well, they've got a standard answer, a pat answer. I think originally if you would have asked them, I bet you that 99% couldn't give you a reason other than they were trying to show kind of an allegiance with Kaepernick over his disdain for the police when he wore the socks that showed them as pigs.
Yep. Absolutely. When all that started, I'm an NFL fan and have been, and one of the great players of modern time were Jim Brown for the Cleveland Browns. He's a Hall of Famer. When Kaepernick started doing taking a knee, Jim Brown said, I wouldn't protest like that. And he was a big social activist person. He said, what we have to do is take care of our own as far as black-on-black crime. That is our emphasis and the biggest thing in our communities today. Now, that makes sense. But to disrespect the flag and expect people to come together, I've just it defies logic as far as I'm concerned, and it brings up the issue of what are they really about?
Yeah.
I mean, do they want segregation again, where blacks are on one side, whites on the other? I mean, we've come too far to go back to that.
Absolutely. You know, Steve, I look at this thing like I'm a private businessman, and I'm a year younger than you are. I'm 70. And if I owned a company and all of a sudden my company was at a parade or whatever, and some of my employees didn't stand for the national anthem or the flag passing by, I would guarantee I would tell that employee, don't let the doorknob hit you in the posterior on your way out, because you are F-I-R-E-D, fired. I am that strict about this. And I think the NFL ownership, whether it's Jerry Jones, I don't care who it is, they have the right as private business people that are affording these people $1-million contracts to play a game. They can tell these guys, you will stand up with respect or you're out of here.
Well, football is a prime example of the hypocrisy here. 70% of the players are black, but Martin Luther King would have been very pleased that people were being judged on merit. If you can run faster than someone else, if you can pass better, if you're more accurate, if you're the best lineman, regardless of your color, you succeed. 70% of the viewership is white, but it's a very, very popular spectator sport until recently, until the disrespect for the flag. So I think of all of the sports, why did they pick this one where all of these athletes, 70% of them being black, are mostly millionaires now?
Yeah. Do you see this, and I'm almost out of time, but I really enjoy our conversation. Do you see this cancer of what Kaepernick started continuing and being exacerbated into the NBA and other sports? I do. I'll tell you my feeling right now. I don't trust the likes of LeBron James or Stephen Curry. I think they're going to try to carry this cross into their games during the NBA season.
You may very well be right, but the ownership in those areas, in those other sports, have taken a stand. So we'll see. But as long as the fans, the fires of discontent are fanned by the liberal media and Black Lives Matter and all of these folks who are keeping the truth from getting out, we're going to have to deal with this. And I can only hope that eventually people will put down the animus, will start, instead of reaching conclusions and tagging people as racist, sit down and talk about the issues that have to be talked about.
Amen. Steve Thayer, you're always going to be welcome here. If you'll consent to a comeback, I'd appreciate it. Thank you so much for being on our program.
Anytime.
Thank you, sir. God bless. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Good man. Enjoyed having him on the program. I will have him back in the future. Stephen Thayer, thank you very, very much. I got to pay some bills. Let's see, where am I at? Oh, my goodness sakes. There is going to be a Halloween. I love saying that. Halloween party at Four Paws Annual Party and Costume Parade. It's coming up this next Saturday, October 28th, and it's going to be from 1 to 3 p.m. At 1 o'clock, they're going to have the parade judging of all the costumes, for the dogs and everything. And by the way, they've got costumes for your puppy dog at 25% off. They're going to have a groomer available for walk-in coloring, fur stenciling, and nail painting. $5 each. Oh, you can take old Fido over there. Take your St. Bernard. That'd be a job. And this is going to be a great big party at Four Paws Bed and Bath, 370 West, 200 South of Rupert. Number to call, 438-4444. This next Saturday, a Halloween annual party and costume parade at Four Paws. Don't you miss it. Some of the pictures. Man, they have a good time over there. Hey, don't forget, too, that there's going to be a meet and greet for Steve Yates for Lieutenant Governor, and that's going to be this coming Thursday this week, October 26th, from 6 to 8 p.m. at Maury's Steakhouse, 219 East 3rd in Burley. And it's going to be hosted by former Representative Bert Stevenson, Doug Pickett, and Mark Peterson. They invite you to meet Steve Yates. He is a man that wants to become Lieutenant Governor and help create good-paying jobs, strengthen education, all of this and more. So go to the meet and greet coming up this Thursday at Maury's Steakhouse, 219 East 3rd in Burley. And this paid for by Bert Stevenson for Steve Yates for Lieutenant Governor. Thank you very much. Real quick, before we send it back over to our main studios, I want to remind everybody about Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox. Absolutely, if you want to check on the Lennox home comfort systems, all you have to do is call Ramsey Heating and Electric today at 678-0459. That's right, you could get up to a $1,600 rebate on a new Lennox home comfort system. Check it out today. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox. Saving you money. Okay, let's see what else have I got here real quick. I got so many notes, I don't want to overlook anything. Coming up in just a few moments, we're going to have a lady that I really enjoy. She is Megan Barth, and she's the founder and proprietor of ReaganBabe.com and nationally recognized as a political commentator and women's advocate. She's straight off the cuff. Let me tell you, she'll tell it like it is. We're going to be talking about politics. So all that's coming up in just a few minutes. But right now, let's send it back over to our main studio with Wheels.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Okay, real fast, I want to remind everybody again about Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center for your loved ones. They have the one-on-one care to really take care of their residents, and maybe you have a family member that needs that one-on-one care. I suggest and urge you to give them a call. They're located at 924 Christian Way in Rupert. The number to call, 436-3200. Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center. And you know what? They would just love the parents and the families to stop by on Halloween and trick-or-treat the residents. They would love to see the children. So stop by and check them out today. Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center, 924 Christian Way in Rupert. That number again, 436-3200. They're small compared to some, but with a bigger heart than most. I really look forward to having this lady on the program because every single time she's on here, she tells it like it is, and I respect that. That's the way I like to have it on this show. And I'm talking about the founder and proprietor of ReaganBabe.com, Megan Barth. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Zeb. So good to be back on with you. Thanks so much.
You know, I'm going to throw this at you and see what you think of this. I look at Congress, I look at the House, and I look at the Senate like a great big box of Cracker Jacks, and we keep shaking it up and looking for the prize inside, but right now we can't find any prize. They're all a bunch of losers.
That's a great analogy. I like it. And, you know, this is a reflective attitude that you have across the country. This election was an anomaly in that voters chose an outsider based on the promises he made and the trust that he inspired in those voters to drain the swamp. So that's where that slogan comes from, because we've looked at D.C. We've had plenty of politicians on both sides of the aisle promises one thing and then do an entirely different thing once they get into the halls of Congress. The congressmen are working together, whether they're Republicans or Democrats, on the status quo. And as Reagan said, Ronald Reagan, the status quo is the mess we're in. So the politicians on both sides have given us the mess we're in. And this election last November, we hired somebody to fix the mess, drain the swamp, and really hold politicians accountable to the promises that they've made to us continually. Republicans are as guilty as Democrats, yet Republicans had more of the onus this election in that they promised us for 7 years to repeal Obamacare, and under the leadership of Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan, they couldn't get the repeal across the finish line.
Megan, where are we at today, in your opinion? I know I'm going to be jumping around on various issues talking to you this morning, but when you look at the likes of Maxine Waters from California, and you look at the likes of Frederica Wilson from Florida, that are absolutely doing nothing but race bait hating in the halls of Congress, and all this white supremacy talk and racist talk, holy smokes, who's going to put the cork back in the bottle and try to stop all this mess?
I hope no one. I hope they keep ranting and raving like lunatics. The parasitic rodeo clown, which is what James Woods referred to as Frederica Wilson, who decided to use politics in a very tragic, solemn moment in order to further sabotage this administration, disparage this administration. And Maxine Waters and Frederica Wilson are cut from the same cloth. They preside over one of the greatest, or some of the districts that have the greatest poverty and the least educated populace, and progressives like them want it that way. Maxine Waters doesn't even live in her district. She lives in a $4 million mansion that overlooks the destruction that she's created over her reign. And so Democrats like Maxine and like Frederica need to keep the people stupid, because stupid people are dependent. And this is the progressive mantra. When you listen to the likes of Frederica and Maxine talk about racism, that's just their default position. Because as I think it was Margaret Thatcher said, I always know I win a debate when my opponent resorts to insults, because they have no intellectual argument left. There is no intellectual argument in the progressive wing of the Democrat Party.
Yeah, but Megan, wait a minute, though. In the case of Maxine Waters, when she said in the last couple of days that she would take Trump out, there was an inference there that a lot of kooks and crackpots would pick up on and think that it was almost the statement of a hitman. How does she, as a Democrat, get away with something like that, whereas myself, as a Republican and a conservative, if I would have said something like that about Obama, I would have had the Secret Service beating on my door in 30 minutes?
Well, yeah, there is no outrage from the press, nor is there any reporting on the press to hold the likes of Maxine accountable. And let's not forget that actually some left-wing kook nut job by the name of Hodgkinson reacted to the violent rhetoric of the likes of Maxine and the progressives of the Democrat Party when he traveled from Chicago to Virginia and tried to slaughter as many Republican congressmen on a baseball field that he could. I found it really interesting that at that time there were no calls for gun control. No. The Democrats immediately said it's the violent rhetoric on both sides. It's the polarization of our country under the leadership of Donald Trump. No, as a matter of fact, the violent rhetoric is coming from the Democrat Party, the Democrat network of criminals, the DNC. These are the race baiters. These are the ones that continue to call all of Donald Trump's supporters white supremacists, Nazis, refer to Donald Trump as Hitler. So their violent rhetoric has not subsided as they had called for violent rhetoric to subside after one of their own used a gun and tried to basically fundamentally change the balance of power in Congress.
Let me ask you this, and you're really on top of stuff, and every time I have you on, I want my listeners to know that you really are aware of what's going on. When we start talking about Russian collusion, and we start talking about all the reports and the investigations going on, and we talk about, now a new one, Fusion GPS, with a very high secret document, and we talk about Hillary and Obama with uranium. Wow, what a mess we are in, and I don't see anybody with a big enough broom and a dustpan to clean it up.
Well, it's interesting, don't you think, that nobody in the mainstream media is talking about Russia anymore?
That's right.
All of the directions and points pointed back towards the very people they are sworn to protect, the Democrat Party, the likes of Hillary Clinton and the Podestas and Barack Obama. And others like Bill Clinton, who colluded with Russia in order to undermine our national security by allowing 20% of our uranium reserves to be sold to the highest bidder, a bank tied to Putin and others tied to Putin. And Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton made hundreds of millions of dollars during the time this transaction was done. Now, let's keep in mind that at the very time our national security was being undermined as they were selling our uranium reserves, the very company that was purchasing the uranium reserves or involved in this transaction was under a criminal investigation by the FBI, headed by who? Robert Mueller.
Let me ask.
We have all of the, if we just follow the dots and we look at Russian collusion, all of the dots encircle the Obama administration and the very people that kept pointing the finger away from themselves and to Donald Trump and blaming Donald Trump for exactly what they were doing.
This whole thing, Megan, and again, you do this for a living, you study this every day, but the whole issue, if you will, of the Trump administration trying to make America great again and being blocked by every movement with the liberal left and people like Waters and others, but all the main stories on the table that are so much more important, whether it's Syria, whether it's healthcare, whether it's ISIS, whether it's North Korea, we're spinning our wheels in the mud over something so silly as to what President Trump did say or didn't say to a widow of one of our great soldiers.
Right, and that's your typical progressive projection, which means that they want to bury the lead by creating another crisis. Never let a crisis go to waste, and if a crisis doesn't exist, let's invent one based on the tenets of racism and all the other empty and hallowed insults that they want to throw at this president. Do you notice that the front page news and the headlines of the mainstream media were all about what Trump said and how people felt and what he may have said, and back and forth in this kindergarten, back and forth sandbox, nothing, right? Now, this is not demeaning or taking away from the tragedy of one of our lost soldiers in Niger. However, the press has a duty and an obligation to report everything. And one of the largest stories that's being buried by the mainstream media for the past year and the last 5 days since we found out more information is the Russian collusion on behalf of this prior administration. So the Democrats are creating a lot of noise in order to create deflection to, basically saturate the airwaves because the Democrats own the press.
I want to get back to the Republican Party. I want to get back to the McConnells and the Ryans, and especially a man that just absolutely makes my skin itch, John McCain. I absolutely have grown to dislike the man more and more. What about this kind of a shark frenzy within their own party? They're biting each other. They're trying to kill each other. When unified, they could really take control of this situation.
Yeah, and I refer to, it's been a long time, obviously, since Ronald Reagan was our president, but it hasn't been a long time since Republicans used Ronald Reagan as a shield and campaign under his legacy. These types of Republicans I refer to as Rockefeller Republicans. If it was up to Rockefeller Republicans, Reagan would have never been in office. We never would have had the 40th president be Ronald Reagan. The Rockefeller Republicans tried to block Reagan, much like the Rockefeller Republicans are trying to block Trump. And it's really interesting to watch these moderates campaign as conservatives in order to get elected. Because if they ran as moderates, they wouldn't get elected. So this should tell Mitch McConnell something, that actually conservatives can win elections, because even the moderates campaign as conservatives in order to win elections. And so Mitch McConnell should also get another signal that, it takes messaging, not money necessarily, to win campaigns, because he just blew $30 million on an Alabama race and lost against a competitor, Judge Roy Moore, who only spent $1 million. Now, Alabamians saw through the swamp, followed the money from the swamp, and ran the other way and picked the most conservative candidate to face off to his Democrat opponent this next election cycle. And we're going to see this, I believe, as Bannon carries on and gets behind Dr. Kelly Ward, for example, who's up against Jeff Flake, the flaky conservative in Arizona. We see Steve Bannon getting behind Danny Tarkanian here in Nevada against the weasel, Dean Hiller, and that's my senator, unfortunately. But all of these that I just mentioned, and McCain, campaign as conservatives, and then when the rubber hits the road and they get into the halls of Congress, they want to reach across the aisles in a bipartisan manner. That's when they're true colors.
You know, one final thought. I heard over the weekend some rumors and rumblings that Mark Cuban, Dallas Mavericks owner and billionaire, may throw his hat in the political race for 2020. That man scares me. I don't trust him. I don't want him even to run for dog catcher. What are your thoughts about Mark Cuban?
I really don't have many thoughts about Mark Cuban. I think he's a brilliant guy. I think he's made a good career of himself. I wouldn't underestimate his power to rise. He has a good determination because of his success, and he's got the money in order to get him across the finish line. But then again, let's look at Hillary Clinton.
Yep.
She spent $1.2 billion on a campaign, outspent Donald Trump by 3-1, and still lost. Again, it comes to familiarity, it comes with trust, and Mark Cuban is going to have to do so much more against an incumbent president who's going to be successful, who's already had many successes, because people are going to vote with their pocketbooks. And if the tax cuts come through and the middle class grows and the job numbers keep improving and GDP keeps improving and the wall gets built and et cetera, there is no amount of money Mark Cuban can spend in order to win that election.
You are the best. Thank you so much. The founder and proprietor of ReaganBabe.com, nationally recognized political commentator. I'm very proud to have her on the program. Megan Barth, you did it again. Home run. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Deb. I appreciate it.
All right, take care. Like that lady, she's very straightforward and has a very, very sound approach to what's going on with all the people in the news. Thank you very much. Holy cow, we've got to get a weather forecast on here, and then I've got time for some calls. I want to hear from you. And the weather brought to you this hour by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, 324-7657. Or you can go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com. Delicious meats from their retail meat department. Oh, they're waiting to serve you. You're going to love it. I mean, everything from brats all the way up to prime rib. They are the best at Scarrows Meats. Don Scarrow and the crew serving you. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
It is going to be another beautiful fall day here in the Magic Valley. Here is your weather forecast for this Monday. Looks like mostly sunny skies. Going to be a little bit breezy. Winds out of the southwest, right around 7 miles an hour. We are expecting a high of 62 tonight, low of 35. Tomorrow, even better, sunny skies, high of 64 with an overnight low of 36. Wednesday, going to be the best day of the week. Sunny skies, high of 68. Partly cloudy for Wednesday night with a low of 39. Then for Thursday and Friday, looks like winds are going to be picking up, but still going to be mostly sunny skies. Highs are going to be in the upper 50s. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
And thank you, Gina. Brought to everybody by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Number to call, 324-7657. Delicious meats in their retail meat department. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time at Scarrows Meats. I'd love to talk to somebody right now. Please give me a call, 436-224-1866-927-4587. Give me a jingle on the landline. Love to talk to you. Come on, give me a call. I mentioned earlier, and I want to get this on again, that at Denny's restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley, you can stop in and get your name up on the wall for being very supportive to help the Denny's NoKidHungry.com. And a $3 donation will provide 30 meals to a child. So stop in today and give them a $3 donation, 30 meals, No Kid Hungry, and that's at Denny's, 611 North Overland in Burley. And by the way, also, it's that time of the year already. They are looking for new unwrapped toys. Yep, or cash donations. Take them into Denny's and help with the Mini-Cassia Christmas Council. And you got to get those toys in there by the end of this month of October. It takes a lot of work, takes a lot of coordination for everything and everybody to get everything put together. So don't forget, they're looking for new unwrapped toys and also maybe cash donations to help with the Mini-Cassia Christmas Council. Stop into Denny's, 611 North Overland in Burley. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Another public service note while I'm waiting for your call that I know is coming in. Don't forget the Rupert Square Trunk or Treat. Trunk or Treat, I like that. And this is going to be on Halloween, October 31st on the square from 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. And it's providing a safe and family-friendly environment for the community's children to enjoy Halloween festivities. Now, the square is going to be filled with cars, and their trunks will be open for your children to load their baskets with all kinds of goodies. And don't get up there before 6:30. Wait till about 6:30 and then take all the kids up there. And for donations or to participate in the trunk or treat over at the Rupert Square, call 434-2757 or 312-2785. And that is the 2017 Rupert Square Trunk or Treat. Don't miss that. Oh, my goodness. Come on, give me a call. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While I'm waiting, I want to also highlight our major sponsor, and that's, of course, our Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations. We are so blessed to have them here in this area because doing the right thing matters, and they do the right things to help you drive safely. The very best in tires with the big fall tire sale that's going on right now. And, of course, they've got all the car tires, the pickup and SUV tires. And let me tell you, you stop in and they can figure out the best tire with the best tread design for your type of driving. And don't forget, too, they've got the absolute best in brake service. Highly trained brake technicians, along with front-end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries. We overlook the batteries, but I'll tell you what, on these colder winter mornings, fall and winter mornings that are beginning to come and hit us right in the face, you better make sure you've got a good battery to start that four-wheeled wonder and get you to work. Check it out today with all 7 locations. Stop in and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. The best, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You know, one thing I'd like to say before I get off of here this morning is we started the Zeb's Lunch Bunch. Whoops, we'll get back to that in a little bit. Caller, go ahead. We got about 2 minutes left. You're on the air.
Yes, Zeb, I'd like to complain, if that sounds reasonable, about our gasoline situation. You know, on these small motors like our motorcycles, our lawnmowers, side-by-sides, snowmobiles, whatever, this ethanol is really, really tough on the engine.
Yes, it is.
And gosh darn it, why can't we have a gas that we could afford to burn that stupid ethanol?
Well, you know, you can buy straight gasoline, regular gasoline, at certain places at a little bit more of a higher price. And I am doing that for not only my lawnmowers, but also my four-wheelers and other, because I know, you're right, ethanol and the ingredients, and they want to make it even higher percentage, it's going to destroy the engines and cost a lot of people a lot of money.
Well, maybe the manufacturer of the engines and everything are in favor of this, but I'm not. I think that ethanol is one of the biggest boondoggles we've made in the United States of America.
Well, I'm not going to argue with you on that. As a matter of fact, we're on the same page, and I don't think that you can ever grow a product to use its energy and take away from the growing of a product that is needed for food to feed the world. And that's my bone of contention. But also, I have a lot of the facts and figures here that show exactly what you're talking about with the ethanol in the gasoline and the destruction because of the high heat to the motors and the components. You're spot on, Keith. I agree with you.
Yeah, and it's disgusting because why can't they're adding this ethanol, which actually costs more than gasoline?
Yeah,
and I don't understand that.
Well,
why don't we take something out of the ground and make it into gas when it costs more than what we have, and we have plenty of gas.
That's right. Keith, I wished I could talk longer. We'll talk tomorrow morning on this subject, but right now I got to get to the news. I'm done for the day. God bless you for your call this morning.
You have a wonderful day.
I will, sir. Thank you very much. Going to wrap it up and put it back in the box for today. Zeb at the Ranch, right here on K-Bar, 12:30 a.m., streaming live on ZebBell.com all over the universe. And remember, tomorrow morning we'll be back here at 8:06 to start all over again. The way things were are the way things ought to be. See you tomorrow morning, and God bless.